Hi, Assalamualaikum and greetings to all. Welcome back to our video lecture slides series, and this is video lecture slides week 4. Today we are going to look at particularly the status of development theory. We're talking about development and we're talking about a little bit about the theory. At the end of this video lecture slides, all of you should be able to demonstrate the understanding on cultural diversity and development, as well as their impacts on communication systematically. And this is our course learning outcome 2. So let's begin. Ladies and gentlemen, the simple question is, what is theory, or what is a theory? So basically, when you talk about a theory is the critique or the revision and summation of past knowledge. Basically, remember cultural determinism, where you have some sort of background knowledge of what happened in the past for a certain event, and when you come to the same or similar situation in the present time, you can actually expect or anticipate what happened. So some sort of similar concept, that's what theory is all about. Now, the other question is development theory or a matter of social science or of politics? Now, this here, ladies and gentlemen, depends on the content that you have. If you're talking about economic development, if you're talking about students' development, intellectual development, child development, psychological development, that would be of social science. But if you're talking about how the development changes the nation, then that would be of politics. So that's as the simplest way to explain whether a development theory is a matter of social science or of politics. Let's move on to development theory per se. According to Hackney in 2008, development implies or suggests intentional social change in accordance with societal objectives. So it's about social change, and when you talk about social change, it's always about the communities. And development, normally the development itself is organized in terms of the intervention in collective affairs according to a certain standard of improvement. So the key word here, ladies and gentlemen, is improvement. So if we go back to the definition of development, we have positive and negative improvement. Remember, development can also be a negative improvement. And what about the dimensions of development theory? Now, this is something that all of us must really understand, because these dimensions, they are the basis for developing something. So first thing first, development is struggle. There's nothing easy about development. If you want to build a house, you have to go through certain processes. If you want to develop the nation, you have to go through certain processes. So development is struggle. There's nothing wrong, or there's nothing irony, or there's nothing difficult to understand about this statement. And there are 7 dimensions when you want to develop something. When you want to develop a house, when you want to actually develop a nation, when you want to develop a program, so you have to follow these 7 dimensions. The first one is context. So basically, context, it is actually putting framework into what you want to do. So context, you are putting the framework, the historical context and the political circumstances that will actually appear in this development process. So context is number 1. Number 2 is explanation. You must be able to give reasons why you want to have this development. So basically, it is the assumption about causal relationships that you are going to have. So why must I build this? Because of this. So causal relationships. And then the third one is epistemology. Epistemology is actually knowledge. You must have knowledge in order to develop something. So that's very, very critical. So rules of what constitutes the knowledge itself. Number 4, methodology. Methodology is ways how you want to build something. So step 1, step 2, step 3. So those are what we call methodology, indicators and research methods. Number 5, representation. Ladies and gentlemen, representation is all about meaning. If you look at a certain building, you will be able to identify the history behind the building. For example, you look at a Minangkabau rooftop, you know that perhaps, oh, the owner or this building represents Negeri Sembilan, for example. So representation is about meaning. When you build something, you must be able to articulate or to express particular interest and cultural preferences. Number 6, imagination. Ladies and gentlemen, when you develop something, you must be able to imagine the kind of final product that you are going to have, number 1. And then second, you may want to actually imagine what's the function of this that I'm building, and who's going to benefit from this building, this development, for example. So imagination, images, symbols of development. Last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, future. When you talk about future, you're talking about whether you are able to sustain whatever that you have developed. There's no point of building a house today and tomorrow it collapses. So you must be able to foresee or to predict what will happen in the future in terms of whatever that you have built. So this is where you have to understand policy, agendas, and what can future projects be to actually continue with whatever that you have developed. Ladies and gentlemen, 7 dimensions of development theories. We have context, explanation, epistemology, methodology, representation, imagination, and future. And yes, it's true, development is struggle. Moving on to the conclusion that we have here. So basically, when you talk about the status of development theory, the status actually reflects the theory lag between development studies as well as the social science generally, and it is a colonial legacy in knowledge and a recurring impasse in the development field. So basically, when you talk about development, it will always change from one generation to the other, and it will always change from one place to the other. So last but not least, we will talk more about this in our class. Why is it so important for you to know all this? Why must you learn, or why must you understand the 7 dimensions of development theories? The context, the explanation, the epistemology, the methodology, the representation, the imagination, and future of development. So why must you know and understand all this? So we'll talk more about this in our next class. With that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. That's the end of the video lecture slides week 4, and I will see you again soon. Assalamualaikum and greetings to all once again.